Greetings, folks. With me today is Charlotta Björklund. Charlotta is the Senior Vice President of Operational Excellence at Saab, which is a very long and illustrious leadership career spanning both Ericsson and Saab. And we're also joined by Anna Rimhagen, who's basically been working as a care and growth facilitator and coach and an agile coach with also extensive experience at Saab and Ericsson. So welcome Charlotta, and thank you very much for being willing to have this conversation. We realize you're a very busy person.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your career. Give me a pinky nail. Where did it start?
It started. I'm an engineer, so I have a master in engineering, and then I started off at Ericsson as a trainee for 1 year, going a little bit around in the organization and trying out different positions, and I ended up as a project manager for software releases. Even if I'm a hardware girl. So after that, after 3 years, I ended up realizing that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to work with leadership. So I got a position in manufacturing, actually, as working on 2-shift manager, lowest level, but the best school for leadership.
Yeah.
So I went in there for 1 year, and then I was promoted, taking a department role, and then the wheel was spinning. So I spent 10 years within manufacturing, but I also have 3 kids in between those years.
Wow.
So I went in and on and off, but it was a lovely school because you can try out a lot of different things, and it's a very direct conversation with blue collars. They don't take any management bullshit.
Yeah.
You have to be very clear. You have to explain. The why is important, and I think that I learned a lot from that because the why is the driver of people. I mean, if you're going to change or transform, you have to explain why. And I learned that very early. And then I'm also very interested in people and relations. So I think the combination was pretty good. I was different from the other. I was female. I was connecting. So they I didn't want this gap or distance. I mean, I'm a manager, but anyway, I can care about you. I can care how is your private life and what kind of obstacles do you have, and I can see what kind of good skills you have and utilize that in a way and get you to grow. So that is the good school I got of these 10 years in manufacturing.
Oh, wow.
And then I also,
over that decade? How old were you over that decade?
Sorry?
How old were you over that decade? It sounds like you're mid-20s.
I started as a manager, then I was about 30, 27 I was.
Okay.
27. So and also then being a mom at that point in time, it's the same kind of leadership.
That's amazing.
So you need to set boundaries, you need to take consequences, you need to describe why, and you need to care. So I think that was a good school in combination. And then it took me, Ericsson has been going upsized and downsized a lot. So then there were redundancies when I was going back after my 3rd child, and then I ended up in R&D. So at radio performance verification, very technical, very detailed on a section level. So I stepped down actually from a department manager role to a section manager because I wanted to have some more time to my family. And that has been my way of working. I have done maybe 3 or 4 careers during my working time, and I think that is also something to be prestigeless. And my focus was not to do career; it was to do a good job, and then the opportunities have just come my way. So I ended up in R&D and worked with verification and integration. And after 3 years, I was then headhunted to a sector level. So that was above the department level. And then I ended up at verification and integration then of radio base stations. And then that had taken me, stepwise, and ended up both as responsible for product line maintenance for Ericsson, then 4G, 5G for 5 years, and then also product development unit manager of 2,000 people, 5 countries across all over. But a lot of good opportunities have passed by. And then I also left Ericsson, actually, 2018. I felt I'm done. I need to see something else, because my motivation is not the level of the position, is the work. It's the relations. It's to do leadership. So then I left Ericsson and got a job at Saab, heading sourcing and production in Järfälla, 300 people, 1 site. And what motivated me was that unit haven't worked for 10 years. It was considered as the biggest problem for Saab Järfälla. And I turned it around in 2.5 years.
Right.
Best motivation, delivery precision, good leadership, everything. And that took me then to this job in the group management of Saab. So I think it has not been my, I don't know, how should I say, it's not my ambition to get these top levels. It's more to make difference, to contribute, and have a good leadership. That is what's driving me.
So how long have you had this role, Charlotta?
3 years.
Okay.
And this is completely different because previously, then I've been the manager of all the employees that I'm heading them. So then I can, apply my leadership in another way, more direct way, because they are reporting to me either directly or on different levels with sub-managers. But now when I work on group level, I need to work with my colleagues and make sure that they say the right things. And I also need to work with mid-management. I need to interact in another way. So this is a challenge for me as a leader to get into other units in a good way without how should I say, affect the head of. We need to work as a team. So I need to network and do different. So it's a challenge. And I also need to be much more persistent and long-term, because it takes long time to change a company like Saab and transform when you're not the formal manager of all the people. And then, of course, we work together in the group management. But it's in the daily. I think to transform, the leadership is so important in the daily work, because you need to have this direct feedback. Now, how are you thinking? Why are you saying like that? Why are you negative? Why don't you take that problem up, or why don't you bother or care? So I think it's important to have this direct relation. So I work network.
Right.
But it's hard.
You still have a line role. It's just so senior that you have to, in a sense, almost be undermining somebody to get a feel of what's happening on the floor, because you've got to go over.
I do. Yes, I try to have a broad network, and of course sometimes I get information that it doesn't work, but then I need to handle that in a good way.
Yeah.
And that is probably also one of my skills, that I'm humble, and I am very respectful to my colleagues, because I could say, hi, this doesn't work, and
I'm the boss man.
I
For
have
heaven's
to be
sake, I've got the right to be there. Yeah.
constructive. Otherwise they wouldn't see me as a benefit. They would just think I'm destroying, or they will cut me off, I think, and make sure that I'm not. So my philosophy is that I would like to contribute. They should see me as an asset. I want their best. So I usually say to the teams that I meet on lower level, I say, I'm not after saying that you're doing good or bad. I'm after that you are taking steps and develop. And that is important. So
everything that you've said so far is so consistent with this leadership model that we've been developing. I can see now what you were saying, Anna.
Yes. A lot less personifying it.
I usually no, but you also need to walk the talk and lead by example. I think that's key for me as well. Of course, I'm not perfect. That's not what I'm saying, but I try to listen to people, whoever, and treat everyone equally. And I think that is also something that maybe differs me from others, because I usually get emails from anybody, and they say, "Oh, you answer my emails." Of course I do, because it's important. So for me, it's important.
Wow.
I thought it was so interesting when you said this about the blue collar leadership, and you said they don't take management bullshit. And then I smiled to myself, because that's exactly. So I haven't had you as my direct manager, but I've seen you from the side at Ericsson for several years, and now not so much. But from Ericsson, this no bullshit manager, I think that's a great explanation of you, I think. So both this with the true caring, but also, no one will get away with not doing what they should.
No. And my philosophy is that people want to take responsibility and want to contribute, but if they do not, they will. I mean, I give everyone a shot. I think I have a positive mindset of people around me, but if they show something else, then they will know. And I also have learned that it's, if I want something to be done, it's better to say that. And if I want it to be specific, if I want to have red pictures or red PowerPoints, I have to say that, because it's so, and I think that helps when you delegate, that you are, I mean, if you have any preference, you need to say, instead of they figuring out, because that's uncertainties. And I want people to be safe. I want them to be comfortable, because I think people are delivering better then. So it's also something that I think I'm very open and very direct in a nice way. I'm not mean, and I don't give feedback here and there directly. But if there is things that I expect, then I tell that. And I also give feedback immediately. I had such a issue last week where I didn't got what I expected, and then I don't have to raise my voice. I just have to say that this was not what I expected, and then I go back and refer how I would like to have it, and then I also are met with respect. So I think it goes both ways.
It sounds like what you've done, I mean, as I've indicated, is really consistent with our understanding it, but it's completely intuitive. I mean, you sort of, and dare I say, it's not my experience of average leaders and anywhere in the world. They don't have this take on dealing with people. So how would you reproduce your approach to leadership in a large function like the one that you're running now?
in this big organization, I try to meet a lot of people. So I also know that communication is important. So I try to meet a lot of different groups, big groups, smaller groups, and try to influence from that perspective. But at Saab, it's so many different culture because it consists of different companies. So it's much. You need to adjust a little bit dependent on who you're talking to, and it also different how they look upon my skills, because a little bit I mean, 8 years at Saab or 6 years at Saab, it's nothing. You should be here for 30 years or something. So it's you need to adjust a little bit. A little bit. I try to not, get to a lot of heat and a lot of, because it's not so constructive, and you just bang your head, and so I'm a little bit, I think I'm maybe strategic and smart from that sense. I try to avoid heat, and it's not because I'm afraid of conflicts or can't take that discussion, but it's waste of my time. So if you give me your little finger, and then I'm persistent, so I will get back and get the others. That's a bit how I work.
Very good.
So because I realized over the years that transformation is about change, and change takes time, and the bigger change or the bigger organization, it takes time. So you should take one step, and maybe it's not, they don't get the full picture, you don't have the roadmap, but you need to work it iterative. So you take one step, and then you learn, then you can talk about the next step when they are mature to understand the next step. So I think it's also about taking it stepwise. And have high ambitions. I usually get the question, how can you be so energetic? How can you? But that's my driving force. For me, this is me. I mean, I have that kind of thinking in everything. I usually take that example that when I eat lunch, I get frustrated if the flow of the, forks and knives and plates and food is in the wrong direction. You need the fork and the knife in the end. That kind of, and I do that at home as well. If I'm serving, breakfast, I have to have the flow. So it's a little bit my thinking, and I think it's about not wasting my time. I have so many things to do, so that I want to do. So I need to be efficient.
So it sounds like from the role you're describing, Charlotta, it sounds like there's both. I mean, sort of there is a hierarchical and aligned part to the problem that you deal with, but it's also very matrix setup. So it's like both variables. I mean, and it sounds like it's more you need to be more attentive to the matrix in the position that you have now than what it is that you have to need to do to the line. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is a matrix, and I mean we have business areas, and the business areas are responsible for R&D and P&L, and so it's like a full company. And then I'm beside the BA head, and then I should drive then change and efficiency within these units. Then I have to affect, and we need to be aligned on goals and KPIs, etc. So it's a little bit. I come from another angle than I usually do, because usually I'm the boss of.
You're the line boss, Okay. Yeah. All right.
But I have line responsibility as well, because I have a lot of different group functions within my unit as well. So it's I have both.
Like all of IT, where I am.
Yeah, IT, for instance, and also procurement and property and environment, different. So I have a lot of.
How big is your line organization?
I think it's almost 2,000 people.
Wow.
1,500 maybe. Close to 2,000. So it's a lot of different, and it's so many. I think I have 8 different managers below me, and they are, I mean, and it's so a lot of variety in responsibility. So you can't, it's not one size fits all. You have to adjust, but what is common then is that we all drive efficiency, we all drive value stream mapping, we all drive the targets that I put on everybody at Saab. I mean, that of course we need to do internally as well.
So you basically define and track sort of operational excellence measures throughout the whole of the organization, the whole of Saab.
Yes, I do that. We have a network. There are operational excellence manager within the business areas as well. So we have a line, a responsibility across Saab. So we work in that network, and then we set targets to be more efficient and drive change. Because for me, efficiency is hard to measure. It can be many things, but it's rather a mindset of continuous improvement and continuous learning. So for me, it's a way of thinking and how you deal with anomalies or faults or corrections or whatever. You need to be systematic, and you shouldn't be working with everything, but you need to understand what gives effect. So that's why I drive a lot around lead time reduction and value stream mapping in order to know your business, know your processes, measure, understand how you can do different, digitalize, AI. So it's a lot of
lead time.
Sorry.
No, I think the lead time is such a useful measurement to drive both quality and effectiveness, efficiency. And it really is. We often talk about process and outcome, and lead time is a great outcome measurement to drive process.
Yes, but lead time has this is so natural for me, and I've always been thinking like this. So sometimes I need to step back a little bit, because lead time has been problematic for people to understand. But it's also maybe nature of where we are and what kind of company we are, because we are so driven by standards and regulations, etc. But it gets a little bit. I get questions about where to start and where to stop. But I said it's different, because we are working in different units, in different functions, in different product lines, whatever. You need to set your start and stop.
Yeah.
And I say it doesn't. And then the focus is it the correct start and stop? But that's not the big thing.
Sure.
Start where you think you start, and stop where you think you stop. And if you discover it's wrong, change. Because it doesn't matter. Because if you start to do efficiency in between here, you're good. So it doesn't matter. So, but it's so administrative, technical, and analytic thinking, or engineering maybe. To have the problem is to set the definition, but it's not about the definition. It's to do the right thing. So I think that is very interesting finding. But when I turn it around, they say, aha, then I can maybe do something.
Yeah.
So it's another way of
thinking. I think at IT, we're sort of working our way out with what is end-to-end, what is the start and stop. Because it started really with each team doing their thing, their little piece.
Yes.
And that's what they measured. And then we would have a whole pile of those things ready, and the whole context was missing. But now we're sort of looking at all of IT. But obviously, then as a later step, we would need to expand into the business areas. That's when it really gets interesting and intend with value.
But and this is the beginning to look on your own process, because you can't discuss with somebody else if you don't know your own process.
That's true.
But when you do, then the biggest changes and redundancies are made usually in the border between different organizations. But you need to. This is also about maturity. So you need to start to understand and drive your own things, and then you can start to discuss. So that's about maturity, what you're talking about, Anna.
When we started working with the teams a few years back, 2021, basically everyone at IT said, yeah, things are working perfect here.
Yeah, exactly.
Just tell us if there's something you want us to change, because they were looking at this little piece. And it took us a while to wrap our heads around how can they say it works perfect, but that was why. Because this thing worked perfect.
And this was the main thing I did in sourcing and production that made me taking this position, because it was about getting law and order in my own organization and own processes, and then make sure that I got the right inflow, so to say, the right prerequisites for manufacturing, which was not the case before. So it's important.
So can I put another question?
Please,
Yes.
of course.
I was curious about that department in Järfälla that you turned around. What were the main things there?
I usually say that afterwards you can sound like Einstein and that I'm super duper good. It's a lot about working all different things, leadership, communication, goal setting, processes, methods, tools, systematics, improvements, everything, and also working the borders and the inflow and prerequisites, what is driving your processes and flow and work, what is the failures, test result, everything. You need to work it 360 degrees. And then it's about having experience and a good gut feeling of where we are and what is needed to get the maturity. And then it's a little bit about trial and error. And I usually said to my staff, you need to understand that I don't know everything. I'm trying things and see if I get the right, correct result. And if I do, then I'm happy, and then I continue. So it's a continuous learning. But afterwards you can make a nice how we went about it. But it's about hard work, I would say. And
so leadership was sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you said leadership was on that list, but how important would you say that the leadership is?
It's one of the prerequisites, I would say, to have the right leaders. I could raise them myself. I hired some of them, and I also changed some in order to have the right leadership. And I was very clear on what I needed and what I expected. And that was something new. So there were actually managers didn't wanted to work for me, because you have to work hard and you have to dare to change and dare to give feedback to your staff. And then we said, this is what we want. This is how the behavior part was a big issue. We had a lot of, it was victimized culture. It's no use. We have done that before. It doesn't work. We have always done like this, that kind of culture. So for me, that I cannot work in that kind of environment. So I said, this is something you choose. You choose to be a victim, or you choose to see things from another angle. And you choose joy. And that was and I said that very clearly. And I don't want to be a victim. That's the worst position that I know of. So if I will never end up there. So you have to, this is what we need to do. So that we did. And then, I passed by the coffee machine and people were, I don't get this. And then I just asked, what is it that you don't understand? So I worked it from all angles, everywhere, on individual level, team level, manager level, every level. And then I expected my managers to also work with the behavior. And that changed really quickly, actually, maybe 1 year. And then there were a couple of people that were left, maybe. But that's, and we also focused on the people that wanted to change and wanted to be in another position. And that is also what I do today. So I usually say to my colleagues, if you don't steer or take command of where we should improve, I pop popcorn in your organization. I go with the ones that won't. Maybe that is not the most important for you. But for me, it's about shifting the mindset and get more people on board. And so now I think after 3 years, now we start to find the most important parts.
But I love the metaphor, popcorn.
It's
people
about
that are ready to pop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And because otherwise I kill myself. Sorry?
Sorry, we used to refer to that as blue cheese.
So
if you want to change an organization, then it's like find the places where you can infect. It's not necessarily the top of the cheese. It's like all over. And
it's all over.
Those things grow into each other, and you have a blue cheese.
And I think, and I usually say that I'm taking the elevator from bottom to top, and I'm on all levels, all floors in the organization. I talk to whoever, and that is also a strategy I have. And then I also get to know things, and when they have met me and realize that I'm not so dangerous, and I want good things, then they start to interact. So that is very interesting.
So how do you reduce this way of being with
your turn.
Yeah, sorry, beg your pardon. I was getting excited. I'll shut up after.
No, it's your turn.
How do you get to reproduce this take on being a leader with the people who work for you? I mean, how do you do that?
I think it's about coaching and also having a diversity view of leadership and people and boost good parts of my manager's leadership and strengthen the good parts. I think we too often focus on our weakest part, maybe, instead of because I think I'm hired because of my strengths, and then of course I have weaknesses and I should be aware of those, but that will not take me to the next job. So it's more to boost people on the positive parts where they have their strengths and have a good mix.
Right.
And then of course I usually say that as a leader on a little bit higher level, then you cannot have big holes in your profile. You can you have weakness and strengths, but you can't be completely bad on something. So that is so then it's about awareness, and I believe so strong that if you feel challenged in a good way and safe, and that I don't try to set you up. I'm very open. I listen. I care. Then I think people grow by themselves.
Well, those are the care and growth criteria.
Yes.
I make you safe. I care for you. I make sure that and I challenge you so that you grow.
And then I mean, it's also to find me and you a good win-win position. Yeah. So I also need feedback because I need to understand how you are thinking and what you need. So then if you can have that open relation, then I think you are good. But it's also, it was like one of my managers, he said, it's so interesting with you. I have this individual talks, and we talk about what we have cooked for meal for the weekend, and then we discuss our goals. So I think it's also about being a full person.
Yeah.
With all, I mean, there are things happening in life, and you need to share as much as you want. It's not about being any psychologist or so, but you have to meet each other, because it affects. I mean, it affects your performance or your way of behavior, etc. If you are having something bad privately or whatever, so you need to share. You need to be open. You need to care. As simple as that.
No, exactly right. Exactly.
So what would you say are the biggest challenges right now in your line? What are you working with, or if there's anything that you can share? I mean,
in my line role, I think it is the diversity of my responsibility. It's so different. I mean, IT is 1,000 people with maybe 50% consultants, which also is a character of culture. And then IT is challenging around cost always. With digitalization, with increased cyber security threats, etc., the cost is going up always, and we also have a complexity of having a lot of old things that we need for different reasons. So it's hard to modernize and get the momentum, and a lot of rules. So that is one part, and the other part is that the interaction and having this group function responsibility towards business areas are always tricky. But my view is that as a group function, you need to contribute to the solution. You cannot just say, this is not good or this is bad. You need to follow this rule. You have to contribute to the solution.
Yeah.
So it's also to get closer to the business and work close to operation. I think that is key. So I think we have a lot of challenges also now in this context, exploring what the different roles and mandates, but also then bringing a lot of new people on board. So it's a little bit all over, I would say.
Yeah. No, that was actually more or less my thought too. It's a very diverse role you have.
It is.
Yeah, no, it's, no. I mean, any one of those pieces are kind of like, I mean, it looks like if you just had the 8 direct reports that you have in your line role, I mean, that's enough for a job. I mean, but that's not your job. You've still got a whole other job. It's like
yes, that is the balance I'm struggling with. I could maybe spend 100% of my time just working efficiency and be a catalyst and facilitator in that, from that perspective, and strengthen leadership on all levels from the side, and inspire and so on. But I also have a lot of group functions responsibility, and those are having different challenges, each of them. But I think a winning concept, how we have organized them, is that I also have a couple of people working center of excellence. So that is the network. So I have a center of excellence for flow, value stream mapping, and flow thinking. And then they have, because I don't think, I mean, I didn't want to work as a management consulting firm and having 10 people that fly out and say what you should do, and then they go back. I want the change to come from a responsibility, accountability perspective, and I also want it to stay. Then you have to mature the operations. And that's why I work with networks. So we have maybe, I think it's 250 people that are educated, that can support the local organization in doing value stream mapping. And that is now scaling a little bit better than me having 10 consultants. So that is the thinking. And then we do that for digitalization, and we do that for also change management now. So that is the way I try to come into the operations.
Work across.
Yes, working cross, and also, and then you can also help each other and start to get from this fixed BA structure, or which is very strong at Saab, and get to a Saab culture instead. And then I also work process methods and tools, which is also one of my responsibilities. So we have a revitalization where we want the process methods and tools to be more forward-leaning. It has been a little bit not so proactive, more reactive, and just maintaining the process. I want this to be the driver for us to taking us into the future. So that has also been something that we drive very hard. And it's a line responsibility, and that I have pushed now. So it starts to taking off. Because if you don't get the responsibility out there and the leadership, it won't fly.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it goes together, but it's many different things that is happening.
And it really does. I mean, it's clear that your fascination has been, this whole issue of initiative and getting a sense of ownership, and people themselves going the extra mile, being in the organization, not just to earn a salary, but to contribute, and you're now reproducing that across the organization as well.
Try to, at least. I think it takes time. I think I'm also working with HR and leadership framework and leadership education training, because I think, but in the end, if we do not put requirement and give feedback on these behaviors that we want to see, then so it has to be done from top and from frameworks and training. So you have to work from all angles.
That's right. I mean, that's what we've discovered, actually. I mean, we've got this Anna's coined something she calls care and growth by sprints. Actually, to be very clear about what the key leadership deliverables are for a team, and those aren't the same thing as production deliverables. There's a deliverable that go directly about the transformation of the people in the team, and actually to track that over a period of time with the team using that sort of agile methodology. And I mean, we've done a bit of that in banking now, and I mean the results have really been quite amazing. I mean, it's that leadership itself is a process you can be very deliberate about, and actually can turn into deliverables.
But you're right there, because it's about, for us, it's about the product or the main process where your business is. That should be in focus. But then how you behave and how you act is important as well. But you should always support the business. And if you think about the business, I think you have the right priority, so to say.
Yeah.
But it has one learning that I made when driving this sourcing and production, where we did a lot of different changes and a lot of different root cause analysis and value stream mappings, etc., and all about transforming and changing and improving, is that some people are so stuck with, okay, we have made an RCA and we have 10 different findings. They want to implement all 10. But I found out that do maybe top 3 or 5, leave it, and take another one and do top 3 and 5, because it's so hard to understand how these different processes or interact, because they do somehow. But you can't figure it out. So I usually say that it's like having a wall with different wheels, and you need to turn all of them a little bit and see what happens, and then turn a little bit again, because you can't do one perfect. It doesn't matter.
But it affects everything else. It puts everything else
exactly. But you don't understand how. So usually it's better to do a little bit of everything, and this is very hard to understand because people want to do it perfect. And it's not about perfect, because again, it's about maturity. So if you think what is perfect today is not perfect tomorrow, so it doesn't matter. And that is so good enough is also one of my favorites. It's a very good learning.
Folks, I think we've run out of our hour.
Oh, really?
I'm very aware that you you're clearly a very busy person, so we won't. It's been very nice having the conversation with you, and I do hope we can continue this conversation at another point.
Sure.
Is there anything that you'd like to say in wrapping up, Anna?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask Charlotta. I wasn't prepared.
And then, the star of the show talks last, so we're going to ask Charlotta last.
So, this did turn out in the sort of direction I had the feeling it would. And I'm really, really glad that we got to have this conversation and to listen in on this. So thank you.
Charlotta, how your sort of parting shot?
Yes, I think it's so valuable sometimes to reflect a little bit on what happened and what have I done. I usually don't. And I've been a part of a mentorship, and that is a good way of actually doing reflections when you talk to another person that are asking questions or having a situation. How would I do? And then you start to think. So I really appreciate that you asked me and that we found the time for this conversation. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.